No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 7 love, but I don't understand the flirtatiously.
Playing, just playing.
Yeah.
Playing.
Flirtatious love. Someone want to give an explanation? Just playing.
It's not committed.
Yeah, I kind of disagree with that, because you can be in a committed relationship and still be flirtatious with that person, kind of taking it back to that beginning stage and rekindling stuff by being flirtatious and playful. So I think it has multiple meanings and multiple uses, I suppose.
Sure. Now, there's a lot of different ways you can look at this, and I like that way perhaps of, well, which of those can I improve? How can I improve them? I need all of them in my life. And I was thinking before about a different way. I was thinking about, you write out the definition and you look for negative responses. You look for a negative K, and if there's any negative K, you're like, warning sign, what's going on in there? Both approaches, good. Multiple approaches, good. But this gives you a range of approaches. When I think about the flirtatious love, or the ludus love, I have a person that comes to my mind, and I've got a big smile that comes with it. And when I think of that, I've got a big smile, and I actually think about my grandfather. He would walk from his home, he would walk down the shop to get the newspaper, or he would drive into town, like a 2-minute drive, you know. And I used to follow him around as a young kid, you know, like 4, 5, 14, I would follow him. And he was the biggest flirt in the world. He was the biggest flirt. And I was behind him kind of watching. You know what I learned? Damn, that's cool. He like left a trail of fireworks, you know, he's in his really, really old age, flirting with like an 18-year-old. Didn't matter. Hey, love. And it was just like, he just left, you know, and I looked behind. He didn't look behind. He kept looking forward. I looked behind, and that was just like people blushing, and it was just like yeah. So when I think about that type of love, I get a big smile on my face. On the other hand, if you were to think about that kind of love and you're like, you know, and an ex-boyfriend, girlfriend comes to mind, or suddenly a picture of an ex comes up, or a jealousy or something comes up, big circle. Something to work on.
Hi there, Adrian here, and this is a video from a Zoom session that we do. We do these Zoom sessions every Sunday, and we take questions and answers from the audience, some of our students, some of our members. We never know what questions are coming up, so I'm always excited to do these sessions, and I hope to see you at one of them. Make sure you hit the subscribe button below and check out the other playlists that we have. Thank you, enjoy.
So in this session, we're going to talk about love. And as you guys may know already, we do NLP. So there's a particular way that we might want to handle this a bit different to your normal. This is what love is. We want to look a bit more at the structure of love, or perhaps how you do love. And I feel that this is a really important subject, because could you imagine life without love? In fact, without love, would we even grow?
Probably not.
Some might say, in the beginning, there was light. Some might say, in the beginning, there was love. So in the beginning, there's light. And I don't know, have you guys ever seen those torches? But like, have you seen the torches that shine darkness?
That shine what? I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, you know what a torch is, and you know you can have a lamp, but have you ever seen a torch that shines darkness?
No.
Have you ever seen a lamp that shines darkness? Or a lamp that sucks up all the light?
No.
No, it doesn't exist. I don't believe it exists, right? So you don't have light and darkness. Darkness is not the opposite of light, it's the absence, right? So there is only light and the absence of it. Some say this is good, some say that's bad, and most of you know if we're saying good, bad, what are we doing? That's good. We're tearing it apart and we're judging. And if we're judging, well, we have to be attached to points of view. So some say things are good and bad, but they're essentially judgments, you know. Another way of saying it is one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter, you know. Or sweat now, and have the glory later. Yeah. So judging good, judging bad, judging good or being an optimistic person, it's kind of isn't that much better than being a pessimistic person. They're both far away from truth. Yeah. Nice one, Golden Seed. Fear is the absence of love. Well, I think the absence of love can cause a whole pile of things. But we're going to get more into different types of love and more about love. Now, just for a moment, I want you to consider if something is considered good, and no, for you it's not good, it's bad. If you judge something as good, what happens when you consider the bad side? And if something's really good, like having lots of love is really, really good. If you get so much of it, then you might start to suffocate. Yeah, or have the absence. So once you start to take in the other side of the coin, it starts to balance out. Some people you'll say all this positive stuff, and they'll say, but look on the other side. Yeah. So once you take good and bad into consideration, or multiple perspectives getting closer and closer to truth. Yeah. Or if we want to hold on to our side, whether it be optimistic or pessimistic, one thing that kind of bugs me is when people say, I'm right, everyone else is wrong. Yeah. And this is nothing to do, this session today is nothing to do with religion. Yet you'll see this through religions as well. Some religions will be, our religion's right, every other religion's wrong. And that's just crazy, isn't it? So you want to be able to take in multiple perspectives and see that there are multiple perspectives. And when we get multiple perspectives, what do we actually get? We get closer to the truth. How many times in relationships do you see this? Yeah? People stuck on one side of the coin. My side is better than your side. I'm right and you are wrong. But it sounds kind of funny, you know, to see great to see you, William. Thanks for turning your camera on too. Cecilia and Big Lebowski, hello. It's funny, you know, you hear someone who's saying, I'm right, everyone else is wrong. And it's so clear. And there's some wonderful sayings as well. Bernadette just wrote it. As soon as you're pointing one finger and God, get this deep into your brain. Get this really deep into your brain. Do a submodality swish, whatever you have to. Every time you're pointing your finger, there's 3 fingers pointing back at you. This needs to be like an automatic thing. Yeah. Now, I still blame people. The funny thing is when I blame people, what's really funny is I remember washing the dishes and I started to blame someone. I just started to laugh. Because I'm washing the dishes and I got like 4 hands and maybe 4 hands. 4 fingers and 4 fingers, and I got 8 fingers pointing back at me. while I was washing the dishes. So look, in the beginning, there was light. There is no darkness, just the absence of life. Multiple perspectives bring us closer to truth. Now, if you watch a baby or a toddler, we often watch the baby and toddler when they cry, don't we? What's wrong with the baby? It's crying. Yeah. So that, we assess the baby, nappy, food, whatever it takes. And then what happens after you feed the baby or you take care of the baby? Someone answers, please. What happens after you take care of the baby? What's next for the baby?
They usually stop crying or they burp all over you.
Perfect. And then what?
They sleep.
They sleep, maybe?
They do it again because you've given them the attention.
They might do it again. Because you're giving them attention. But now, what's the natural state? What do you think is a natural state for a baby or a toddler? Happiness? I think healthy babies are generally pretty happy. They have their fart, their gas, their burp, and then they're like looking around again. Keynote, what's a baby paying attention to? Things that are the same or things that are different?
Differences. Light, dark, and then greater detail as they learn more.
Side note there, paying attention to differences.
And very
So that's a
pleasant.
side subject, but we want to also train ourselves to pay more attention to differences. And this has been covered in studies as well. So you get a bunch of people, get them all together, have them focused on the same stuff, get them into a brand new environment and have them figured out what's the same. And they'll figure out what's the same. So get a big bunch of people, take them to a foreign country and say, find things that are the same. They will find them. And then what will happen? They will act the way they normally act. Same bunch of people, take them to another foreign country. This time tell them, only focus on things that are different. Find things that are different. What happens? They find things that are different. And then what happens? How do they act?
Amazed. Surprised.
Well, I've got to find a new way to act. I've got to find a new way of being. Now, in the first place, I found all these things that are similar, so I can just act out the way I normally act in old patterns. But if I go into a new environment and I focus on all the things new and different, I'm going to act different as well. Yeah. So if we are going into a brand new environment and we are focused on the new and different, we will find new and different and we will be more different. Yeah. But if we look for the old or the common things, we will start to repeat common patterns. This actually came from a study. I was reading about this study and it's really cool. I'm not going to get it really right. I didn't read this study in the last week. It was like months ago I read the study. It was beautiful. This lady grabbed a whole pile of like pensioners, people who had carers, not your average pensioners. These were like high maintenance carers. Every single person had a carer. She went and got these people and she took them out to a village she made. They made this whole village like the 1950s. Everything was 1950s. 1950s food, music, scenes, service, everything just like 1950s. And it was so funny, she said, because when she pulled up, the people didn't have their carers, and she's like watching them get out, and these old people were like with their bags and they couldn't carry their bags. Some of them started opening up their bags and they slowly carried their clothes, and some of them pushed the bags slowly, getting their breath back slowly, and they slowly moved all the bags towards their accommodation. Lived in this 1950s village for a week. Now, did this with two groups. Both groups came back a week later feeling better. Now, in the village, one group had to enjoy themselves in their 50s. That was it. The other group, the second group, had to talk in present tense. That's it. They just had to talk in present tense. Talk about now, how things are now. They weren't talking about the good old days. As soon as you're talking about the good old days, that's in the past. Yeah. So the second group was just talking in present tense. Yep. At the end of 7 days, that group that was in present tense were playing frisbee and kicking balls around. The difference it made to speak in present tense and sought for differences. Children, all the time, searching for differences. I remember taking my kids to school, you know, taking my kids to school. I don't walk my kids to school. It takes too long because, oh, there's a butterfly. Oh, there's a flower. You know, but the thing is the kids keep noticing all these flowers and there's a little crack in the concrete and they're like, what's that? What's that? The kids keep searching for differences. And what am I saying? Hurry up. It's time to get to school.
Mhm.
My daughter says, why do we go to school? So you can learn. All right. So the kids are pretty good learners. And how do they learn? So what do we want to do? We want to keep searching for differences, not similarities. And for the NLP Master Prac, and for people that are well experienced, you could see that as a meta program. So switch the meta program across and you might get another 10, 20 years happy life. If so, can I have a silver coin or a gold coin? Okay, someone has dropped these beautiful, cool silver coins off to me earlier on. Okay, so now when it comes to love, the child's natural state seems to be happy
Mhm.
and searching for differences. So what do you think our natural state is?
Should be the same.
I think it should be the same.
What about opposites attract? So we look for something which is different to us.
Oh, maybe. We're gonna talk about that in a few bits as well. So the natural state is happy. The only thing is that things get in the way. Nappies, food. Our natural state is happiness, but things get in the way. Therefore, when it comes to love, is it really a matter of finding love or removing the obstacles in the way? Something to ponder. And for those that want more love in your life, consider. Okay, let's say I want more love in my life. Okay, I want more love in my life. And, you know, I'm out there meeting new people and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. How much, for those that want more love, how much of our time are we looking for more love versus how much time are we spending removing the obstacles? And the great thing is, because removing the obstacles could be as easy as yeah. Could be a lot easier. Actually, I don't know if easy is a way to put it. But how much of our time do we put in going out for love versus how much do we go in for love and removing the obstacles? Yeah. So just briefly, I'd like to share, I've had some obstacles in my life, perhaps some of my past programming. I've also had challenges. Some of my obstacles for love was I didn't know how to express my feelings. I didn't have much EQ. William said something about it the other week, I think, or was it Jay? You know, something came up about EQ, and we both shared that we got into NLP and stuff because we had low EQ. It's like my EQ was lower than yours. Would anyone else like to share a problem? You don't have to, but would anyone else like to share a bit of a problem or a barrier that they think they might be having towards love?
I will. I've realized I go for the same. So, and for me, the same has not been great. So I need to look at not that now when I'm looking for someone to share my life with or someone to be in my life. I need to not look for what I've had in the past, because what I had in the past hasn't worked.
Thanks for sharing that, Michelle. Karina, then Jay. Karina J. William. Quick, Karina J. William.
Well, the pattern, like what Michelle was talking about, was the pattern, right? We fall back into it. But what if the pattern that we have is not being capable of loving ourselves? Because that is a pattern, right? Just like choosing the same type of wrong partner.
Yep. 100%. Thanks for sharing that. I think I might have had some of that too. Is that it, Karina?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. That was a beautiful point. Jay, Jay and William.
I was given what I find to be a pretty astounding piece of advice a little while back, not too long back, and it said that you can't find something that can't be quantified. And if you apply that to love, you can't find love because it's not quantifiable. And what we do, therefore, we go out and find something which is familiar to us in another person. And that which is most familiar we see in another person is usually what we don't like about ourselves.
Thanks for sharing that, Jay. We'll touch a little bit on that bit as well, because we're definitely doing some of that. Was it William, then Bernadette?
I'm saying love is really inexplicable to me anyway. And when I was the first real experience of my sort of love, if you wish, when I was a younger person, was when I fell in love with a babysitter, which didn't go down too well. That's half a joke, but true.
This movie.
You're bad, William.
Yeah, I know. But also you've got to have a bit of frivolity in life. Otherwise, life just goes by and you miss all the moments, don't you? So I'm saying what's been interesting for me so far is that it's been said that babies live in the moment, which is so true. And I think that is the joy of love. That is living in the moment, not judging other people, not judging yourself, but in enjoying them as they are at a subconscious level. So quantum entanglement comes to me for love, but like Jay, I just cannot explain it. Crazy world. But the babysitter is very nice.
Bernadette.
Yeah, just want to clarify here. When we're talking about love, what kind of love are we talking of? Is it like
Bernadette? We'll get into that next.
Okay. If it is romantic love, my experience is that I have always felt romantic love to be like a prison. And therefore, I have unconsciously, of course, always felt for people with whom I knew it wouldn't work. And I'm glad I did that way, because had I gone for what could have worked, that would have been an obstacle for me to be the person I wanted to be. No wrong, no right, just so that's why for me, it's really, what kind of love are we talking of here?
Right on, we'll jump into that next. There's one thing I want to cover very briefly. Love itself is a nominalization.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love is a
It's hard to go to
normalization.
the grocery store and say, give me a pound of love.
Yeah. Can you put a pound of love into a wheelbarrow? No. Can you quantify it? No, because it's a made up noun. It's not real. It's a normalization. It's a action frozen in time. Normalization is a fancy word. It's one of these grammar / neuro-linguistic programming words, perhaps. But we have these things like normalizations. Trust is another one. But trust, love are actually processes. So love is a process, but we also use it as a noun. You can't buy love. So that's talking about, yeah. So one thing we might want to consider doing is unfreezing. So whenever you work with someone or you're thinking about love in your own context, you might want to consider unfreezing it. And rather than I'm not having love, it's like just unfreeze it, add the ing back in it, loving. Yeah. And also remember from some of our work, when we have ings, we are associating. Yeah. Take away the ing and you can dissociate. So when you talk about love, it's pretty easy to dissociate. That's the thing about words like love, hate. You can dissociate from it. And you can look at the love from a dissociated point of view. But if you talk about loving, the ing you generally associate into it. So if you talk to anyone or have any problems with love, we'll go in and perhaps feel some loving. Now, this is a bit regardless of what type of love we're talking about. It's still bigger picture love. So one thing I really like with this love thing is if we have a natural state of love, then it's just obstacles in the way. As people that like personal development, we all like personal development, yeah? Or is it like or love? We all love personal development here. So in that case, everything that we have labeled bad in the past, everything we've labeled bad, we can look in and look for the opposite side. Yeah? Remember, I don't ramble. Everything's got a reason. Multiple levels of learning. Right? So everything we've labeled bad in the past, the bad thing other people have done, the bad things we've done, if any of them have emotional pull, which doesn't serve you, one way of getting rid of emotional pull is to see the other side of the coin. Yeah. So all things that we've labeled bad or wound or trauma, all those things, we can look at the reverse or do personal development work. Now, if you've got a whole pile of emotional wounds, congratulations. You can turn all those wounds into a staircase. And I'm not saying it can happen overnight. However, sometimes it can happen in a moment. So for those that think you've made a pile of mistakes, just for a moment, you want to do a really quick process?
Mm-hmm.
Right, where is your past located? Remember where your past is located in a timeline? Yeah. Yeah, mine's up there too. I want you to consider your timeline in a different way. I'd like for you to consider your timeline, and somewhere way back there, you've got little baby you. And you've got a pile of steps coming up to you, coming up to this moment. See your whole past as a pile of steps building up to this moment. Take a minute and visualize that.
Mine are very narrow steps because I have a lot of steps.
We may have to go back and see them. Some of those steps will require a bit more transformation. And if those steps still have emotional pull, there's still lessons we can learn inside of it. I'd like to suggest a possible midway process or a midway step. If you can look back and see those relationships as stepping stones, how high are you going to feel? Yeah. And if you think about them as stepping stones, you're going to be like up here. Yeah. You're not going to be down there. You're going to be up here. Yeah. Now, really, you haven't lived until you've been divorced. Yeah. And some people really like to live. And those things are actually massive stepping stones. And if it wasn't for that, if it wasn't for those stones, we wouldn't be here now. Yeah. So wonderful place to be. NLP, timeline therapy, CBT if you like it. Have a clear up our past. It'll make it a lot easier to move forward. But don't just clean it up. Actually see them as stepping stones or something positive. And you won't just balance out the situation. Have it balanced out and leading up a little bit. Yeah? Because realistically, you take the good side and the bad side, it doesn't quite balance out. Because you've learned your lesson. You've evolved and you've grown. So you're actually up a bit higher. And for those that have a lot of steps, you've actually grown a hell of a lot. And that will support you continually stepping up to more. So if you consider all your past relationships as stepping stones, you'll be in a lot better situation. Okay. Now, I wasn't too sure how many people would be here today, but I'm going to say a couple of things, and I'd like you to give yourself a score from 1 to 10. And you can just put the score on paper for yourself if you like. According to the Greeks, there's 7 types of love. Eros. E-R-O. What word starts with Eros? E-R-O. Erotica. Eros is romantic love or a passionate love for the body. From 1 to 10, how much passionate love of body have you been feeling?
Could we clarify?
Ilya.
Could you clarify that? Is that love of another body or ourselves?
Ooh.
Ooh. Jay, look at you.
Are you saying that if I feel love for 100%? Now, just as I started that word, I don't want you to jumpstart the next word, philia, because when these come from Greek, and I used to speak a bit of Greek, and I thought philia, the only word I know that starts with philia, isn't a good word.
Philia is kiss.
Is what?
It means kiss. Philia is kiss.
Yes. Okay,
Yes.
great. I was thinking something else, philia.
No,
Affection.
no, it's
Affection
not
or
the other
friendly love.
thing.
storage or unconditional, like familiar love or family love. Now, what do you think about that last one there? Is that familial? What does that word mean? Can you see it, Michelle?
I think it's polyamoureux, polyamorous, because familial is closeness. I don't know. I see it like that now. Storage, unconditional.
Okay. The next one's agape, and in the Greek you'd say, okay, Polly, you Greek?
No, my husband was. Polly's not Greek.
Okay, she's like, no. Like, agape, is it? Did I say? I think agape more in Italian, but in Greek they say agape.
Agapimo?
Yeah.
My love.
Yeah.
Yeah, but agape is more like brotherly love, like for like love your neighbor. That's
About
agape.
universal love.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
How much of that are you feeling? How much universal love are you feeling? Now, if we're going for a relationship, that's the thing. If we're going for a relationship outside there in the world, we have our roadblocks inside. We get rid of our roadblocks. NLP therapy, you see an awesome coach if you want to go really fast. And then comes the state and state management. So in your state and state management, if you're not feeling romantic love, but you can increase your agape love, storage love, philia love, ludus love. Ludus love. What's ludus love?
Material love. I think.
Material love.
Yes.
Material love. Okay, can someone put a nice positive spin on this ludus, this playful?
Playful.
It's almost like a childlike love.
Yes. And is that kind of cute?
It's like Cupid, like Cupidon, Cupid love, sort of playful. Because ludique means in French, comes from that, and it means play, like learning through play, you know? Yeah.
Pragma. What about pragma love? How much pragma love are you feeling? What's pragma love? Committed, long-lasting love. This is the seventh type of Greek love. They say the 7 types of love. The seventh one.
Philotia.
Yeah.
Philotia.
Oh, you said that good.
Can you just put me in a room full of girls? Is that Cupid love?
That's
That's
Eros. Cupid's attached to Eros, isn't it? Shooting the arrows to give you the pain.
Cupid exists to give you the pain.
That's what it is. The pleasant pain.
Cupid is supposed to give you that long-lasting love, but also romantic love.
Yeah.
So doesn't Cupid also stand for Eros?
That's what I said. Yeah.
Cupid is also the love for money.
Which one?
Cupid in French, Cupid means somebody who is really after love for money.
Mm-hmm. It's probably the same sickness, is it?
I don't know, and that's the interesting bit.
No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 7 love, but I don't understand the flirtatiously.
Playing, just playing.
Flirtatious love. Someone want to give an explanation? Just playing.
It's not committed.
Yeah, I kind of disagree with that, because you can be in a committed relationship and still be flirtatious with that person, kind of taking it back to that beginning stage and rekindling stuff by being flirtatious and playful. So I think it has multiple meanings and multiple uses, I suppose.
Sure. Now, there's a lot of different ways you can look at this, and I like that way perhaps of, well, which of those can I improve? How can I improve them? I need all of them in my life. And I was thinking before about a different way. I was thinking about, you write out the definition and you look for negative responses. You look for a negative K, and if there's any negative K, you're like, warning sign, what's going on in there? Both approaches, good. Multiple approaches, good. But this gives you a range of approaches. When I think about the flirtatious love, or the ludus love, I have a person that comes to my mind, and I've got a big smile that comes with it. And when I think of that, I've got a big smile, and I actually think about my grandfather. He would walk from his home, he would walk down the shop to get the newspaper, or he would drive into town, like a 2-minute drive, you know. And I used to follow him around as a young kid, you know, like 4, 5, 14, I would follow him. And he was the biggest flirt in the world. He was the biggest flirt. And I was behind him kind of watching. You know what I learned? Damn, that's cool. He like left a trail of fireworks, you know, he's in his really, really old age, flirting with like an 18-year-old. Didn't matter. Hey, love. And it was just like, he just left, you know, and I looked behind. He didn't look behind. He kept looking forward. I looked behind, and that was just like people blushing, and it was just like yeah. So when I think about that type of love, I get a big smile on my face. On the other hand, if you were to think about that kind of love and you're like, you know, and an ex-boyfriend, girlfriend comes to mind, or suddenly a picture of an ex comes up, or a jealousy or something comes up, big circle. Something to work on. I found a stepping stone. Yeah. So you can also use it as stepping stones. Okay, now you can take charge and you can change the definitions. Look for that response. You could also look as, what's an example? Do you have strict or do you have flexible rules? Strict rules or flexible rules? One of the big things we teach in NLP, flexibility. Yeah, there's also times when we need to be firm. But one of the big things we teach is behavioral and emotional flexibility. Yeah. Now, if there is something where I like that's across my boundary, well, by being emotionally flexible, I can maybe look at the other side, hear it from their point of view, see it from a different way, get more information, get the bigger picture. And then I might decide to change my boundary. Or I may decide to make my boundary into a Great Wall of China. But either way, emotionally flexibility, behavioral flexibility allows us to take different perceptions, yeah? So do you have strict or flexible rules around the examples? If you want to go a step forward and you want to increase and get more love, you might want to consider what has to happen before. What has to happen before? Bernadette and Jay, they'll be like, ding, I know that one. What happens before? Like, what has to happen before for you to feel love, for you to feel that type of love? What has to happen before you feel that type of love? Yeah. Now, knowing what happens before allows you to set up life so you get more of that love. Okay. Any questions at the moment? And we'll just go for like 3 more minutes. There's a whole lot more that we haven't dived into. We are basically, as you know, anyone that's under training knows, we are going around acting on programs, the programming we got as a kid, right? And maybe we got more programming from some of our relationships. But the more we go around with our program, the more the program takes over. Our programs generally aren't put in with success in mind. A lot of people grew up where their parents were together for survival, yeah, or for a function, because it was practical, maybe because they were too scared to separate. Yeah. So we may have grown up with a model mum and dad, or our friends' mum and dads, and they may not have been the best models. Their level of consciousness might not have been that high. Now, you could say there are different levels of consciousness or different frequencies. And often when we delve into like spiritual world, we look at a higher level of, you know, this spiritual stuff. And it's not quite easy sometimes to live in that space, or to be married and raise kids living in that space 30, 40, 50 years ago. Yeah, maybe today we can. 30, 40, 50 years ago, it would have been quite a challenge to live on a very high frequency, experiencing joy every day. So as kids, we grew up seeing parents here. There is this thing called the emotional scale, and I don't remember it exactly, but it's like love and joy are like 100, and a lot of people live around here somewhere, and some people like depression down here more, right? So we actually grow up with models which may be around here somewhere. Could be a sign of the times in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, you're right, 90s. And we grew up in that environment, and that was like the ceiling. So we step out into relationships, maybe watching Hollywood and stuff. We want to have a relationship that's up in this level, but our programming is set for here. Is it any wonder? Yeah. Now, we might do personal development and get our frequency up higher. And the best news is we get our frequency up higher, we'll find partners up on a higher level. Yeah, we will. If that's really important to you, you will. Remember, we might have expectations. Yeah, and love with expectations.
Boom! You made it here! Good on you. Make sure you click the subscribe button below and check out the playlist at the end. If you'd like to come along to our Sunday sessions where we host a live, free Q&A for our students and members, you're welcome. I'll see you there.